The M433 is the very first assault rifle you hold access to in Battlefield 6, and I won't lie, it's a bit of a handful to operate. It's got an extremely aggressive nature that makes it a bit intimidating to the unskilled shooter, and thankfully, that's where I'm coming in today. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to my new series of weapon reviews for Battlefield 6, where we're going to be going through every weapon in the game by doing a deep breakdown of its stats and performance, its strengths, its weaknesses, and most importantly, how you can kit it out with attachments to unlock its full potential. As I said, we're going to be doing a weapon review on every weapon in this game, and I want to be guided by you guys to a certain extent as well. Let me know which weapons you want to see me cover next, as well as if you think there are any gaps in the information that we cover today as well. I want to make sure this is a true resource for you guys, so please, any feedback will be greatly appreciated. But without further ado, let's dive into our guide for the M433 assault rifle. We're going to be kicking off here by going over the stats of the weapon, and more specifically, the damage-related stats. And might I just say here, we are starting off with an absolute bang here with the M433. I know we're kicking off these reviews without a basis to ground ourselves against, but I'm just going to save you guys the guesswork here. DICE have given us one of the most potent assault rifles in close quarters combat as a starter weapon in this game, rocking a maximum damage of 25 out to 20 meters and then a medium range damage of 20 out to 75 meters. We find ourselves rocking an extremely consistent bullet to kill requirement of 4 to 5 rounds per target. We do drop to a minimum damage of 17 beyond the 75 meter range, but in all honesty, it's going to be pretty rare that you ever catch yourself engaging at such ranges in this game, you know, with how much cover there is on the maps and how they're sized. But further to that as well, you're kind of pushing the love on this weapon anyway if you're engaging at such ranges. You're just better off switching off to something else in your arsenal at that point. Factoring in the headshot multiplier of 1.34 times on this weapon, that shaves a single bullet to kill off of the M433's performance at those ranges accordingly, which, when we take into account the weapon's 830 rounds per minute fire rate and do some basic time to kill calculations, we also get some pretty nutty results. The M433 will down a target from full health within the maximum damage range in 217 milliseconds or 145 milliseconds should you connect with a bunch of headshots. That is borderline diabolical and basically denies your target any opportunity to react to you shooting at them if you're insanely accurate. With that extending out to 289 milliseconds or 217 milliseconds for headshots, the M433 still maintains a pretty solid TTK at medium ranges if you can control the recoil on the thing. Now, I must clarify that these time to kill stats are best case scenarios and assume 100% accuracy, but they're a good way of building an understanding of what a weapon is theoretically capable of, and it's good for measuring weapon potency. So just keep that in mind when you factor in player accuracy. It's likely going to bloom out the TTK stats in a real world scenario. This still explains why we're seeing a lot of players though stick with this thing despite unlocking new weapons for the AR category. Speaking of handling, let's jump over to the handling stats and have a look at how it feels to use the M433. Out of the box, the weapon features a pretty hefty recoil kick, punching upwards into the right, with the bloom on the gun really starting to get away from it after the 5th shot or so. So managing the recoil is going to require some serious pull on your input of choice, down and to the left, and as your range balloons out as well, bursting after your 5th shot is going to be a requirement. Hipfire out of the box is also nothing really to write home about here either. The weapon's recoil kicks aggressively still, but the bloom feels intense from the very moment you start spraying down a target. Despite this being an assault rifle that's really catered for CQC combat, yeah, I would suggest aiming down sights unless you are planning on absolutely barrel stuffing the poor sod that you're trying to knock out. Ammo-wise, we hold a pretty standard magazine size and ammo pool for an assault rifle, 30 rounds on a 217 ammo pool total, but that's reloaded in 2.382 seconds, assuming you don't completely empty the mag. Honestly, feels pretty smooth and snappy for close quarters combat, especially against some of the other weapons I've caught myself using as I've unlocked them. For some final considerations here, we've got a default ADS time of 250 milliseconds, which is also pretty standard across the board for assault rifles in Battlefield 6, but the 536 meters per second muzzle velocity is far from that. Representing one of the slowest in the AR category in this game, it really demands that some leading of targets as soon as you push that range out. So that's just another factor to keep in mind here. here. But anyway, that's a snapshot of the M433 and how it's built from go to woe. And in all honesty, I've caught myself really struggling to put this weapon away, despite me now being level 41 in the game and having unlocked a vast range of the arsenal. The M433 just feels extremely smooth to use, especially after you unlock some attachments for it, especially some of the early attachments, which help to significantly, and I do mean significantly, reel in that recoil. However, between the recoil, the damage models, the muzzle velocity, all that stuff, everything does point to this assault rifle being a CQC powerhouse with some capability at medium range firefights and not the other way around. Which means that if you are going to use this weapon to its maximum potential, you need to be a bit aggressive with it. Not to the point where you need to go running blindly into buildings and spraying your way through a doorway. That'll land you into the preying arms of shotgun and SMG users, which will likely still beat you out in those scenarios. No, this gun shines as you methodically push your way from cover to cover, closing that distance over time, and using, dare I say, the 10 to 30 meter golden zone that this weapon sits in as you pick targets off one at a time. CQC powerhouse in the world of assault rifles doesn't mean that you need to start breaching doorways and using your face as a human shield. No, it means that in the assault rifle category, you keep a respectful distance between yourself and SMG and shotgun users, where your assault rifle, that is more CQC charged, can still breathe a little, and it's going to really punish users who haven't quite managed to close that gap on you yet. And because the M433 is a more aggression-based assault rifle, the magazine size here also needs to be respected, which is why giving yourself some much-needed breathing room is going to really go a mile here. Again, just because this is a CQC-orientated weapon doesn't mean you should go blindly overextending. I mean, this is Battlefield after all, right? Where one person is going to sit, there's likely another one waiting for you in their squad. So just don't be silly about it. Keep it calculated, keep it cool. As we said before though, bursting in the 5 to 7 rounds fired range also ensures that you keep your shots trained on target and you don't let the bloom get away from you. Given that this weapon does have a very fast rate of fire, it's going to be deceptively quick before this weapon starts to bloom quite heavily, so make sure you're really keeping that in check and bursting often, because once you hit that flow state with the bursting on this gun, you are going to start absolutely printing kills, especially at those medium ranges. But noting that, how about we go over some builds that will make doing that just that little bit easier, hey? I've got two setups for you guys here to try on the M433 today. One of them being a more jack-of-all-trades, maximum accuracy kind of setup, and the other being a more stealthy flanker kit that I've had some insane success with as of late as I've unlocked more of the attachments. The flanker kit is a bit of a late game setup because it does require more grinding to unlock its required attachments, but the jack-of-all-trades kit you get pretty early on and you can really put it to some good work. For the first build today, you'll see that we're rocking the 18.9-inch extended barrel, the double-port muzzle brake, the ribbed stubby grip, 30 round fast mag, the 50 MW blue laser, FMJ ammunition, and a 1.0 optic of your choice, which is all honesty a personal preference thing. I've just got the one that I'm using listed on the video if you want to use it as well. Now this kit is very much a frontliner kind of setup, one that takes the weapon's recoil and really cleans it up to be a whole lot more consistent to manage as you're pushing across some of the more, dare I say, open engagement ranges you can face in Battlefield 6. As you guys can see in the recoil comparison, the maximum bloom and top end recoil has been really reeled in with this kit, and combining that with the extended barrel, which gives you a serious improvement to the weapon's muzzle velocity, this actually gives the M433 some serious stopping power and consistency in a more extended range too. I was able to start pushing 50 meter engagement ranges with this thing, and that really upped up my ante in, being able to play as a frontliner in this game. And all the while, it still maintains a pretty heavy CQC prowess as well. The magazine upgrade really helped me to keep the downtime on the minimal as well, and that really lets you keep the pressure on while using this gun as well. Now for the more sneaky of you here that are watching the video, I've got something for you guys as well. Switching things up, we have the second build here, which sacrifices a sight, some of the attachment points in the grip slot, and the fast mag for a long suppressor and the 6H64 vertical grip. And let me just tell you guys, the amount of flanks that I have been on with this thing that quite frankly should have ended way before they actually did is downright insane. There is really an overabundance of Battlefield players right now that are really relying on their minimaps maybe a bit too much, and the moment you equip a suppressor on this weapon and go on a flank, that is really illustrated. And further to that, the M433's playstyle really lends itself to being a deadly silent flanker, sneaking up on enemies from where they weren't expecting and using the stealth of your suppressor to methodically cut down squads is really satisfying here. And given that you won't be attracting as much heat with this thing by staying off the map, sacrificing the fast mag doesn't feel as brutal as I first expected either. While we have made some serious sacrifices by not having a sight and reducing the, points allocated to the grip, we make up for it anyways with our suppressor, which comes in to improve the recoil pattern as well. And I mean, you can kind of see it in the results. That is an insanely powerful weapon recoil pattern for a weapon that is ultimately designed to be a CQC menace. I mean, I'd even almost posit that the results here are even stronger than the last build that we ran, but obviously you miss out on the clarity of having a 1x reflex sight. So while the lack of a sight does make it a bit harder to leverage, you can't knock the results, and as you get more comfortable in using the thing, and maybe you get comfortable in using some iron sights, this might actually be the play as well for this weapon. Just take some practice. But folks, with all of that said, that is going to wrap up today's weapon review of the M433 assault rifle. I've had a lot of fun building up the graphics and doing all the research to make this video possible for you guys, so please let me know in the comment section down below if you think anything was missing, or if you'd like to see me add anything, or if you've got any feedback for the format of the video. I'm welcoming all of it. I know that some of you are probably just here to get the builds and then run, but if you enjoyed the statistical breakdown as well, I'd really appreciate that feedback too. Leave a like if you enjoyed it, guys. It does go a long way, and as a reminder, leave a comment down below telling me what weapon you want to see me review next. The world is honestly my oyster here. I've got most of the weapons unlocked in the game right now, so nothing is off the table. With all of that said and done, once again guys, thank you so much for watching the video. I'll see you all next time. Until then, peace out. Have a good one, guys. Take care.